or the whole deer head.
Okay, we're live.
Hi there, this is welcome to another Ronan Nazarene Talks. I'm your host, Solitary Ronan.
And I'm Nazarene Prod, and here we have Vulgarian Reindeer Princess.
With the department.
And wearing full regalia today.
Yes.
It's not quite rutting season, but I suppose all seasons rutting season.
Yes. So we have a very kind of vague outline for this one because it's the last one of the year before we all just basically kind of collapse on Christmas and eat too much and watch whatever we're going to watch. It'd be quite good. There's only 3 of us, obviously, you can see today. There's no Chris, but Chris, wherever you are, hope you're having a good time.
Yes, you can play along.
Yeah, you can
play along at home.
Yeah, you can send us messages afterwards telling us about what did wrong with this podcast, and I'll just hand him on to Road and tell him it's his fault. Is that good?
It's fine.
Yep. But yeah, so generally it's like, how's the year been for us film watching wise? What's been our highlights of home media and on what we've watched? It's a very general kind of outline. We're not really trying to kind of have a massively organised thing. There's no death matches this time. We're pretty much everything's a winner. You know, that's the idea, really. So if it's very vague and floats all over the place into insanity, it's my fault basically because I gave only a vague outline for what it was going to be. So here we go.
Yes, 2024. What a wonderful year.
Yes, the thumbnail, as you'll notice, is a nuclear bomb going off, which I think sums it up, the year up pretty well for atrocities.
Yeah, we're not the closest to the doomsday clock we've been.
But it feels like every
30
year, though.
seconds. It's hard to believe in 1991, I think it was at 27 minutes.
Really?
And now we're at like 30 seconds.
Yeah. And you can't just blame Donald Trump this time. There's other stuff going on.
Yeah.
I mean, you've Putin, you've got Syria, you've got China, you've got us,
Palestine.
Britain trying to act as if it's important to the world, and everyone else goes, just go away, will you? We're not interested in you.
Yeah.
Basically, they're treating us like Finland. That's what they're doing. Am I wrong?
Yeah, no.
At least the Finns are happy.
Yeah.
Allegedly.
Yeah. If you watch Fallen Leaves, you know how happy they are. They are very happy. They are so happy.
We are happy, but we are not happy. So.
Yes.
Because the happiness index doesn't actually measure the actual happiness of people. It's more like how content they are with their life, or we are with their life.
Yeah. You're quietly happy, but you don't get above yourself by smiling in any way.
Yeah, just because you're not unhappy doesn't mean you're happy.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks for giving the Scottish perspective there.
Yeah, there's no correlation.
When Rennie Harlin is happy, then I'm happy too. So.
All right.
Yeah, he probably skews the figures a bit.
Yeah. Have I been paid for making something terrible? Yes, I'm happy. Yeah. Rennie Harlin, whose film this year is The Strangers Chapter 1, a reboot of the Strangers franchise. I've never even seen any Strangers film ever. I don't really want to, so. But he's still working.
I've seen the first one. It's suitably average.
All right. Thanks for that vote enthusiasm. Yeah. So, so I know that our princess here has a list of first-time watches that impressed them. I've got a list of whole media stuff that impressed me. I don't know what Ronan's done. I still don't have a clue what he's done, but I'm sure he'll tell us now what list he has made up. Is he just frozen?
Yeah, it looks like that.
I thought he'd been impressively still. I thought he'd been like, wow, that's really dedicated to his craft. It's really insulting because the fact that it took me a while to notice he's actually frozen rather than just sitting to listen to us. So hopefully Ronan will come back soon. Hopefully this is not. Whoops, he's. Let's see.
Maybe it's just you and me then.
All right, here we go again. Add stage. Yeah.
Sorry, my browser decided to crash.
All right.
And then update.
All right. No, we actually we didn't even notice you'd frozen for a bit because I was talking. It was like,
all right, okay.
He's frozen.
Is that it over?
Well, what a contribution.
Thanks for joining us.
Yeah. So I was saying, our princess has the his first time watches. I've got my Hope Media highlights. We don't know what delights you have in store for us.
A mix of both, probably.
All right, that's fine. Cool. So I'll let our guest start off.
Yes.
With one.
So, well, one of my favorite first-time watches was Martha from Rainer Werner Fassbinder. Again, he's been one of my favorite directors for quite a few years now, and this was probably the most acclaimed film by him that I hadn't seen yet. And it's a kind of black comedy about a marriage where the guy is absolutely toxic, but in a very funny way. It was one of those films that for the first half I didn't know what to think of it, but then I just got absolutely hooked by it and I was laughing a lot. It's just that kind of fairly minimal, dry, dark humor. That's my favorite type of humor. I often find like dark stuff more funny than the stuff that most people find funny. But yeah, again, for people who love dark comedies, you would probably love this. There are so many those kind of low-key lines and stuff here that, again, probably for 90% of people aren't funny, but to me they were absolutely hilarious. And I think it's maybe a slightly underappreciated film. It's not often brought up in the best of Fassbinder lists, but I think it's one of his best and should be talked about more.
Sweet. So sort of, along with Finland and Scotland, Germany, another culture of hijinks and, cheerfulness.
And it's actually funny that in many Fassbinder films they mention Finland and they are like going to a holiday in Finland and they are not that excited about it. And in the end of my favorite Fassbinder film, Fox and His Friends, where a character dies in a subway station, he says that, oh yeah, all those trunks in Helsinki, Finland, and things like that. So yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm hoping to restart my Fassbinder season next year.
Next year?
I get 2 episodes in. So.
All right. Yeah, I've got a bunch of them on Blu-ray. I need to rewatch. I've actually got them. They're just I've got like 8 or 9 of the films, and I've got like the World on Wire and the big 8 Days Don't Make a Week or something like that. So I've got a bunch of them I need to watch, but as usual, I don't really have the time, or always find someone else to watch.
Yeah.
Like the atrocity of Red One, which did never watch that film. It's awful. Even for The Rock, it's awful.
Yeah, I don't know how he sleeps at night.
Yeah, that was
a bed of money, but
yeah. Yeah, he's no Reindeer Wolfcastle. That's all I've got to say.
Yeah, but he seems to get a pass all the time for some reason, just because he's an affable guy. But
yeah. So yeah, sorry for tracking that away from Fassbinder to The Rock. So Martha, all of you must watch it. All you kids must watch it to be down with the princess.
Yeah, I watched it in the Criterion channel because it's not available in the Arrow box sets, for example. So I think maybe Criterion will bring it as it had the Criterion logo in the beginning. So maybe they will release it.
Yeah. Well, they're releasing Godzilla vs. Biollante. So, yeah. I mean, there's always hope. Not that I'm bitter because I bought that film for like 30 quid from Poland this year for a rubbish copy of it, and now they're releasing Criterion. Not that I'm bitter at all.
No.
Yeah, that always happens. That when you buy a release, then it gets a better release like tomorrow or the next day.
I know.
It happened to me. Like I was at HMV London and I bought like Malik's Badlands on DVD, but then the next day they announced it on Blu-ray for the UK. So
bastards. Yep. Every so often you get lucky and you wait, and it's released. Like I had a thing of so I can't remember what the title was. I was going to buy it and then I just waited because I'll buy it next month, and then they announced a new better release, and it was like, oh, thank God I waited. But it doesn't happen that way. Usually, if you've bought it, then it's like, oh yeah, that's a new release. Hey, sucker. So Ronan.
I'll start with a couple of releases that obviously made me cry this year, and then I'll just go on to a brief Criterion roundup, because Criterion's making me very happy because every month I generally don't have to buy many of the releases, which is quite good. But obviously I'm not going to go this year without mentioning City of Hope with John Sayles finally getting a Blu-ray, which was absolutely wonderful and brought a tear to a glass eye. And then Lone Star getting not just a Blu-ray from Criterion, but a 4K from Criterion as well.
Yeah, and also in my iTunes, I bought an iTunes and I got upgraded to 4K like last week, which I was very happy about.
Yeah, we're about to have a blizzard here.
Yeah, you've been censored.
The blizzard's moved in.
He's not a fan of Lone Star, obviously.
No, there's not enough action in it.
Yep.
But then the other two Criterions I wanted to point out, again, as I said, I don't have to buy every Criterion release, which is quite good. But I did have to buy Happiness, and all credit to them for releasing it. I thought maybe Radiance might release it just because they'd released Welcome to the Dollhouse. But to get a 4K and a Blu-ray of Happiness is quite wonderful. If you watch, or you don't know whether you do, but if you watch Mid-Level Media, he bought it and then said, I cannot recommend this film to anybody because it's disgusting. But it's actually, as we know, it's quite wonderful. And for it to get a Blu-ray release and a 4K release is pretty amazing. And then I Am Cuba getting a 4K, one of Kalatazov's masterpieces. He does have quite a few. And this looks amazing in 4K. It does go off to a slow start, but once it gets going, it's just absolutely phenomenal. But as I said, didn't buy.
Can I point out that the Princess and I have done an actual podcast on that film? We did a thing about politics and we talked about IMQ a lot, didn't we?
Yeah, we did.
Yes.
Yeah.
So just to point that out. On you go. Sorry.
I think the only other Criterion's kind of new releases I picked up this year were the Roaring Twenties, the wonderful Bogart Cagney. I just got that in Blu-ray, and the Seventh Victim, I Walk with a Zombie Criterion. Again, I just got that in Blu-ray. But again, with all the other titles going about, it does make me happy that I don't have to buy every Criterion that's out. I still need to pick up Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid. And I'll probably pick up No Country for Old Men, but that's next year.
Yeah, I've got some Criterions as well, but I'll do them later on just to spread it out a bit so it's not this. But yeah, Criterion's been not bad this year. It's building up a bit more now on the UK side. Like a few years ago, it was pretty awful for the UK side, but now it's actually kind of getting there for good quality. Something you actually can wait. I mean, I'm going to get the World for a Zombie like next year. Just couldn't afford it when it came out before. It was coming out during the Halloween period. I'd already bought like so much. It was like, no, I can't do any more of this. This is too much.
I mean, it is weird some of the titles they pick for the UK and some they don't. I mean, Crumb has got a UK release, and it's like, I wouldn't have thought that was in much demand, but there you go.
Yeah, I think for me, Criterion is really mixed bag these days, that they have released some films that I've been looking forward to for a long time, like the two Ronin mentioned, Happiness and I Am Cuba. I've really wanted those. And then they also released Mother and the Whore recently, which is one of my favorites. But then they, these days, like release so much kind of mainstream English language garbage and stuff like that. And I really don't want that stuff on Criterion, especially because those films usually tend to have lots of great releases already. I would rather see the films that haven't been released now, but they like No Country for Old Men, for example. It's a great movie, but does it really need a new release when it's available in every streaming service and in many Blu-rays? So.
Yeah. How does Godzilla vs. Biollante figure into this? Which side does that go on? Needed or not needed?
Well, it's a Japanese film. So
needed, obviously.
Yeah. Just checking.
It's a stunning indictment of US foreign policy. So of course.
I was just waiting to see shall I remove our princess from this conversation if he said something wrong there. Not that I'm censorious.
And also the fact that I know it's for commerce, but they do release kind of newish films as well, which I don't really agree with, but obviously it is commerce.
Yeah. So I'm starting off with 3 films. But so I'm only doing this early so that I get in before Rodin gets in with these ones. So I know he'll do these too. And I'm pretty sure he knows because we share a director we adore. Right. Let's see if you can match every one of them.
I just picked out the 2.
Do I have a third one though?
I just watched those like a few weeks ago as well. So.
I only got the first one in DVD.
Blu-ray for both.
Yes.
I had to buy it from China, so and not the greatest quality, but I've got them. You get subtitles with them. And,
themselves.
Yeah, and I found that Nightmare Detective 2 is one of my favorite Tsukamoto's. It's really good. It's a really good sequel. I think it's a better film than the first one, but it's very simple. But all 3 of these films are excellent. Shadow of Fire is my favorite film of this year, easily. I mean, it's and Vital is one of the best films of this century so far. And Nightmare Detectives are an auteur doing horror movies, but doing them really well. But these were must buys. As soon as I saw them, I was that thing of you think, should I buy them? Yes. Boom. Done. 3 seconds later, I think I must have at least been the first 100 people who ordered these.
Yeah, I mean, it's great seeing Vital finally getting a Blu-ray release in Region B.
Yeah. Yeah, we've been bitching about that for years. That there's no Vital. I mean, literally, if you look through some of our podcasts, for years it's been, why is Vital not get a UK Blu-ray release? Why would we just have this really old, like, Tartan video thing? I still haven't even watched it yet. I'm just like, I'm looking forward to watch it. Just like, I'll watch when I'm ready because it's such a emotional film. And I really wasn't up for it this year. But Shadow of Fire is just stunning.
So hopefully people will actually latch on to the fact that he's quite brilliant.
Yep. Like, consistently brilliant. Like, even his weakest films are better than most people's best films. He's just like non-stop great.
He's right up there with the most underappreciated directors of all time.
Yes. Yeah, let's go for that. Let's go for all time.
Yeah, I think Vital is probably top 3 Tsukamoto films for me now after Kotoko and Gemini.
Yeah.
And again, how he does it on like so little budgets as well. It's not as if he's got. Speaking of Red One, he doesn't have those kind of budgets, obviously.
Yeah. Thankfully, because he'd have been compromised.
Well, he would make 10 films with that budget.
He'd make 100 films with that budget.
Yeah.
It's Let's not talk about Red One again. I just made it as a joke. I don't want to talk about it again. It's painful. But yeah, Tsukamoto, watch his films, all of them. They're all great. So back onto the princess.
Yeah. I need to check my list really quickly.
We enthralled him so much with Vite that he's lost his place.
Well, I watched this film that your normal person would say is the definition of pretentious, but it's this French film called The High Solitudes from Philippe Garrel, which is I guess, post-French New Wave or something like that. And it's basically an 80-minute long movie that consists of only still shots and close-ups. And there's no dialogue. It's just people's faces. But it's one of the most beautiful films I've ever seen. So people who love photography and painting, I think, would like this. It's about these kind of depressed women, and we see them when they are having kind of a mental breakdown and issues with addiction and stuff. We see, for example, the German singer Nico, who worked with the Velvet Underground and stuff, and we see shots of her. But it's really beautiful film. But again, most people would think that it's stupid and pretentious and meaningless. But I love this type of stuff. Yeah.
Is there any explosions in it?
No, mental explosions, but not actual explosions. Yeah.
Yeah. I'll put it this way. I'm one of the defenders of Megalopolis, so I will defend anything people find strange. It's I think it's good to see different films. It's they try to find, this is the only kind of film there is. No, there's tons of different films you can watch. I was watching all the Malik films this year, and they were great, but they're not for everybody. And what's wrong with pretentious? It's ambition. Sometimes it goes a bit wrong, but who cares?
And the word pretentious is usually used by anti-intellectual morons who think that everything that is smart is pretentious, everything that makes you think is pretentious. Again, film should all be just pure entertainment and trash, and everything that goes beyond that is pretentious.
Yeah, they want something simple to understand. Anything that goes beyond what they can understand is just, no, we can't deal with that. That's too much for us.
It's one of the differences between people who watch movies and people who watch films.
Yep.
But of course, there are some films that are actually pretentious, I think Nicolas Winding Refn's Only God Forgives and films like that. And Lars von Trier's films are a bit pretentious, I think.
Yeah, but that's why I kind of liked them. I loved Only God Forgives, but yeah, it's a ridiculous film. But I think because it's so ridiculous that I adored every minute of it. Because it's that thing, it's just so far gone. It's more. Please do more.
I really didn't like it. But...
Yeah. But that's the thing. Sometimes you can like a film and know exactly why people hate it.
Yeah.
And just be like, I understand why you hate it. I am having a whale of a time with this.
That's the joy of cinema.
Yes. That's almost a Matt Berry description of cinema.
Okay.
You don't watch What You Do in the Shadows, then?
Yes, I do.
Yeah. I thought you understand the cinema.
It must have filtered in. Yes.
Yes. New York City.
Yes, Tucson, Arizona.
Yes. Yeah, I was thinking, my God, that's so Matt Berry there.
He's a one-trick pony, but it's quite a good trick.
Yes. He still did it for 20 years. I'll be pretty happy.
Yes.
So you can see the title again, because I was still going to listen to you. I forgot what the title was.
What was it? I don't remember it. The High Solitudes. The High Solitudes.
Yeah.
High Solitudes.
Yeah. Because I've been listening to your description of it, and I was like, "What's it called again?" I've completely forgotten the. Because I have heard of that film, but I just haven't seen it.
And it's from the mid-70s, and Philippe Garrel is again very pretentious for people who use that word.
Yeah. Pretension is good.
Yeah.
We get sidetracked by Rodin's pronunciations.
Yeah, I mean, no doubt it will be on the ITV channels during the week.
Yeah, of course. Right, so it's your turn, Rodin.
I would just briefly mention Indicator. I mean, you could argue it's not the strongest year for Indicator.
No, it has not been. It's been.
But one release I would highlight is the El Vampiro set, which is the Mexican vampires. I did have El Vampiro on a DVD, but this is the first two in the series. It's literally the second one starts like minutes after the first one, which is wonderful for sequels that we don't see enough of. And these are atmospheric, influential. The prints are wonderful, and the extras are spectacular as well. So yes, it's been a fairly up and down. I mean, the Roland 4Ks I'm loving. I used to think Roland was just kind of exploitation like Jess Franco, but there's a bit more going on than that. So I'm loving the 4Ks. The 4K of Romero's Bruiser was an interesting little film. Good to see more Romero. But I would highly recommend El Vampiro to pick up if it's still available. It probably will be because it does have subtitles. But the more Mexican films, the better, because last year Mexican Macabro box set was one of the releases of the year. So Indicator perhaps a little hit and miss this year, but I would certainly recommend the El Vampiro films.
Okay, cool. I'm going to go for a Arrow set that I've already spotlighted on my channel a little bit. So it's the Shawsgrove Volume 3. I've seen some of these so far. I haven't watched them all, but I've seen the One-Armed Swordsman, and there's been Buddhist Palm, which was so insane that I adored every second of it. So it's off to a good start with me. What I like about these is you get some really solid, like silly kung fu movies and swordplay movies, but you also get some weird ones in there as well. And it's just a good collection, good transfers. So if you like this kind of thing, it's great. Plus, the fact is there's quite a lot of them, so you can watch them over the year rather than watch them all at once. I mean, some people watch them all at once, but I prefer just stretch them out for a while and having a good time with them. But these are good if you like this kind of movie. If you like this kind of movie, this is really solid. So it was a nice highlight of the year. I felt I had to mention it since I was looking forward to it for so long. And you get some nice extras. You get a lot of Tony Rain stuff, and you get a lot of people talking about different careers that you've never heard of before that were unique and weird. So plus you always get a good cheesy one. We could one or two really cheesy ones. It's like, why the hell did they make this? What were they thinking? There's always one or two of them in there as well, which is always nice.
Yeah, I'm going to wait till next year to pick up. Because again, like Volume 1's still available at like half price. So obviously the first two I bought as soon as they came out, but I think I'm going to wait for the third one.
Well, with me, I had so many vouchers for Arrow that I got it like half price because of so much. I've been saving them up for the whole year. Basically, anything I bought, I just didn't spend any vouchers and just left them for this one.
But it's kind of good to know that you don't have to rush out and buy that. Obviously, there's some things that are going to go out of print, but then there's other things you can actually wait a wee bit. So.
Yeah, plus I was really impressed with the remasters. They looked like they've actually put the work into remasters and made them really nice. So I still haven't finished all the ones for the second one yet either. I'm just mixing and matching them. I feel like that one. I watched that one tonight, and it's quite a good thing for Saturday night. We just feel watching something silly rather than I've watched my serious films now. It's time to watch something silly.
Yes.
So, over to you, Princess.
Yeah. Just that made me think when you talked about Shawsgrove, made me think about like one of the martial arts films that I watched this year, which I didn't have on my list, but it's Kickboxer with Jean-Claude Van Damme, and I actually really enjoyed that one. And it's like all the Van Damme films from that period are so homoerotic. It's really weird. I'm actually really surprised how he can be straight because he's so gay in those films.
Yes. That was always a joke about him. Even from the start, it's like, are you sure you're straight? Are you sure? There seems to be so much of that in the films. That
and he has such a feminine voice as well. Like kind of squeaky, but then he's a complete badass when it comes to the martial arts.
Yes.
But that's a very generic film. Obviously, it has that you need to find a master who trains you so you can beat that guy who beat up your brother. But it's so much fun, and it has so many great fight scenes, like in the bar, and then the ending fight, and it's that kind of perfect 80s trash that I like to watch like 2 times a year.
Yeah, we need a training montage. And then after 10 minutes, that's him trained.
Yeah. Well, one of the ones I remember from Chelsea from when I was young was No Retreat, No Surrender, which Van Damme was a villain. Remember that one? That was one of those ones that was around our school, but from the video shop, you have to see No Retreat, No Surrender, and it's really silly.
Yeah, and the one where he's twins as well.
Yeah, he's been twins a few times, though. He loves being twins. Yeah. He loves playing against his favorite actor himself.
Yeah, I suppose it's more exposure for him.
Yeah. So, is it Ronan's turn again?
Yeah.
No, I think it's.
Oh, you want one of our reindeer man?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, because you did that as a follow-up to mine, so
yeah,
we'll give you another one.
Yeah. Well, I watched several films from Nobuhiko Obayashi. I think even last year I talked about him because I really got into him last year. But my favorite from him that I watched this year is called Miss Lonely. It's one of the ones that isn't on Third Window, but it can be watched in the Internet Archive website on 1080p quality, and maybe Third Window will release it. But I just love his, again, kind of nostalgic style that's very whimsical and over the top, but deeply humanist at the same time. And it's kind of a perfect mix of kind of trash, but also like high art and very unique kind of art house style. And his films are just very, I think, heartfelt, and they are something that make you feel like really happy and good, but they also have lots of substance, even though they aren't that dark. It kind of shows that happy films can be very good as well, which I think when we watch Bellatar and Tarkovsky all the time, you might think that depressing films are the only good films, but it's not that. It's not like that always. Yeah.
What is this sacrilege you're talking?
Yeah, happiness. It works. I mean, you actually had a film called Happiness in your recommendations. You must understand.
It's not that happy a film, to be honest.
The
title, that's what happiness means. So.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, look, you have a film called Happiness. You should know above all what it means.
I did look up in the dictionary.
Oh, good. Was there any other from the director? I think you said you'd more than one, or was that it?
Yeah, I watched quite a few. Like I watched Beijing Watermelon recently. That was really good. It's kind of a film about again Chinese exchange students in Japan and how we can get together even when we have those cultural differences. So that was a really beautiful film. Then there's the film called, I think, The Rocking Horseman, which is about these young people who love rock and roll and start a band. So that's a kind of a classic Japanese type of band film. So that was really good as well. And then there was this film called The Discarnates, which was really good. It's based on a kind of a ghost novel from Japan. And I guess I should also mention with that the same novel was adapted by Andrew Hay recently for All of Us Strangers, which was one of my favorite first-time watches of the year. I really like Andrew Hay's filmmaking. I also love one of his earlier films, Weekend. Like he does these kind of social realist films, often about gay relationships, and they are really beautiful and humane and very emotional and personal. And All of Us Strangers, he kind of changes his style from that social realist stuff to more kind of a over-the-top kind of fairy tale-esque, very colorful style, which is a good change for him. I like both the social realist stuff and this type of stuff, but that was a truly great film, which we cannot say about many films coming out today, unfortunately, but that was one that I really loved, and I'm been thinking that maybe I should watch it again for Christmas. So.
Cool.
Good. I'm going to talk more slightly trashier stuff before I get to the really good stuff. 88 films, 88 films, which we don't really talk about too much. But there are Tygon releases. Obviously, some of us have more affection for those British horror films of that period than others. The Beast in the Cellar was one I'd never seen, which was actually a standout. Seeing Flora Robson from Black Narcissus in a wonderful little horror film, really about PTSD and the survivors of war. So there's actually more going on than just an old British horror film. But really, one of my favourite releases of the year was the Flesh and Blood show and Pete Walker's horror films. Because again, I thought this was going to be really trashy and not very good, but these are actually surprisingly good films with a lot going on. I mean, Pete Walker pretty much said, yeah, he just made these films because they would make money. These films aren't political in any way, but there's a lot of socio-political commentary in these films as far as kind of corporal punishment, capital punishment, how we treat our mentally ill people as a society. So there's actually a lot more going on in them than perhaps he gives credit for them. And sadly, he did kind of just stop making films a long time ago. And obviously he did exploitation and kind of sex comedies as well. But I was really surprised at the quality of these. I mean, these are now available in individual releases from 88 films. But again, 88 films are kind of hit and miss, but the Flesh and Blood show box set was a real surprise for me this year. I really enjoyed it.
Cool. I'm going to Criterion now, since giving a breather from Ronan's Criterion. So I've got 3. So I just probably saw me going like this to try and find them, because I was like, where did they go? Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid, one of my favourite westerns, finally getting various cuts, and it looks gorgeous, and I highly recommend it. If you like the film, you're going to get a lot of extras and lots of good quality. It's region B, but the 4K's multi-regions you can watch, and if you've got a multi-region player, you're fine. We've got Pinocchio, Del Toro's Pinocchio, which I bought this year, which is on a 4K, which is gorgeous. It's a lovely adaptation of Pinocchio that does nothing to the Disney film, but just does its own thing. And it is just gorgeous to watch. Some nice extras. The film itself just looks so good in it. You can watch it on Netflix, but you don't get it in 4K the way you can appreciate the work went into the stop motion. And finally, Freaks. You get The Unknown, you get The Mystic, the Todd Browning triple bill. I've not watched the two ones beyond Freaks yet. The Freaks is a great film, but I was just so happy to see these films actually put out that I had to bring them up, because they are. It is nice to see Todd Browning actually get some respect and actually get a nice little box set. So I'm not sure they come out this year or not, but I know I bought it this year. So yeah, I'm not actually that bothered if I show stuff that's not released this year. I'm just saying I saw it this year, and so it makes some sense to me. But these 3 I'd highly recommend from Criterion. There are other Criterion ones I really want. I bought a bunch of other Criterion films like Slacker and The Boat People and things like that I haven't watched yet. And there's Albert Brooks films I bought, like Lost America and things like that. So I've been buying Criterion films, but these are the highlights for me.
Yeah. 2 out of the 3, and I want to pick up Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid. So.
Try to avoid rolling over my desks here. So if you see me moving awkwardly, it's because I don't want to crash into anything and destroy any box.
The danger.
Yep. I just realised when I started, I had not placed the boxes in a very good position, and I had not thought it through at all. And it's like, oh.
Lack of practice, that's what it is.
Yeah. I normally don't do these box things, but I thought I'll do them this time. Why not? And then now I'm thinking maybe I shouldn't have. Okay, Princess, up to you again.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna mention the first and the last American film on my list. So it's called "I've Always Loved You" from Frank Borzage, and this is definitely maybe like top 3 films I watched this year. It's from the 1940s, and it's kind of like the Red Shoes, but instead of ballet, it has just classical music. So it has that kind of love triangle thing. It has that kind of mentor and a student thing with, again, a middle-aged guy and a younger woman being like a virtuoso pianist, and the guy is a conductor, and he's a very controlling guy with who kind of is like, how do you say it? He's full of toxic masculinity, basically, but it explores that kind of power relation, which is very interesting. And there are these like great kind of classical music scenes. But I think for people who love Powell and Pressburger, this is a must watch. It's sadly like a very unknown film. I think in Letterboxd less than 1,000 people have rated it, which means that it's basically like so unknown that nobody knows about it. But it has a Blu-ray release, and it's also available on YouTube in very good quality for people who want to watch it. It has like beautiful Technicolor cinematography, and yeah, it's just that kind of perfect example of 40s Hollywood, and I think it's, to me, like one of the absolute best films of the 1940s, and almost as good as The Red Shoes, but I think The Red Shoes is the best film of the 40s, so it's hard to be that good, but it's almost that good.
Yeah, shout out to Roger Kirby he did a series on Borzage, and kind of given him more exposure, so
yeah,
wishing Roger well as well.
Yeah, hobbies feel better.
So I'm just going to briefly talk about Radiance, who are probably in the lead, I would say, for almost best boutique label, even though I'll get to not a downside of it, but where they could improve, obviously. But so many great releases. I mean, I had Planet of the Vampires on Kino Lorber twice, but I still bought their luscious copy of Planet of the Vampires.
Yeah, so
they just released Haxan, which again I had on Criterion, but again it's such a beautiful set of Haxan, Elegant Beast. Some of their Japanese releases are really good. The Suzuki, the Fukasaku, the Taiketo. They've just been doing great work. It's hard to believe that they're up into the 80s in spine number. Most of the releases I've been getting, some I haven't been, but Radiance continue to do great work in only their second year. It seems they've been around longer, but it might actually be their second, or I can't actually remember. January 2023 was their first year. So I haven't pulled any out, but some great releases. Their World Noir series is wonderful. Hopefully we'll get a third one. That was one I was going to mention. That's fantastic as well. I did a video on that. More Yoshida would be welcome. I'll get to the other ones that would be welcome as well. And the Japanese Ghost Stories set is just absolutely beautiful. Again, we might get another set of them as well. And most of their stuff is in my wheelhouse. The Japanese stuff, the Italian stuff, more Petrie. Apparently there might be some Rossi next year as well.
I'll just show a few of the ones he's mentioned, since I've got them in my thing. So I'm not going to mention
Oshima's coming as well. So.
Yeah, so you've got Benuel as well. So Haxan.
Yeah.
You've got the Ghost collection.
Yeah, that's a beautiful set.
Yep. There's also
Ivan Piri.
Shinobi as well from this year. And you've got the Bounty Hunter from this year as well.
Yeah.
So saving you having to mention them. Since you've mentioned
Ivan Piri looks absolutely gorgeous. That was DP Babava. Some of the lighting is that is tremendous. One of the most important Italian horror films ever. So again, there's releases that you just go, I must have that immediately. And they are at that level of you just kind of trust, even if there's films you haven't heard of, you just kind of trust Radiance. So
yeah, I've only been able to get a couple of their releases, but I followed kind of what they put out, and I've been really impressed. And if I just had the budget, I would get probably all that Japanese films, and I'm really happy that they are focusing so much on Japanese films, and especially ones that people don't know of. Again, like Story Written with Water. Yoshida is one of my favorite filmmakers, so I was so happy when they put this out, and that they are putting out lots of Japanese new wave as well, as that's probably my favorite movement in cinema history. So I hope that they are going to continue with that path. And I made a video about their kind of failed licenses like a year ago, and I'm sad that they couldn't release many of those films, because they were gonna release many of my favorite films like City of Pirates and Demons from Matsumoto and things like that, but then they just weren't able to do that. But yeah, and I think they've been kind of talking that they're also going to release a Nagisa Oshima set next year, so I'm looking forward to that, and I'm going to try to get that one at least. So yeah.
And I've got the Benuel one in the post right now, which I'm so looking forward to. Benuel's one of my favorite directors. If you can't tell from my title of my channel, he's so Viridiana, Exterminating the Angel and Salmon in the Desert. That box set looks gorgeous. There's so many extras of all the documentaries about him as well. So
Exterminating Angel is my favorite Buñuel. It's a masterpiece. So,
yeah, me too.
Yeah, so I'm waiting by the post. It's like, why aren't you here yet?
Yeah, I should be getting mine next week as well.
Yeah,
this week.
Yeah, it's quite good. I've got that, and I've got Taste of Cherry coming through the post this week, so I'm quite happy. It's like I'm good. Not to brag.
Your turn, Nazarene.
Right. I'm going to go for Arrow. So I was going to go for Radiance, like you just did. So I was like, okay, well, that saves me having to do the Radiance one. I could just show off, go, yay. Right, so Arrow's having a much better year than it's had for a while. Arrow's been like, I would say that it's been kind of bland for a bit, but this year they've kind of had some better stuff out there, some more interesting stuff. So I don't buy them all, and some of them I buy on streaming just to see the films, but they've had some better stuff like this year that have interested me. So you've got the J Horror Rising, which is a nice little box set with a bunch of Japanese horror films, mainly from the 90s. Yep. I picked that up. I couldn't resist. I wanted to get it before it sold out. We have over Halloween. That's one of the reasons why Halloween was so difficult for me, because there were so many films coming out. You had Trick or Treat on 4K, which is a really fun film. You got some nice extras with it, but the transfer was very nice. You got Exorcist 2, which is a nice little thing. I know that Rodin got that as well. And it's a nice little bunch of good extras, but you have cuts of the film, which is very impressive. So you got everything really. You Exorcist 3 on 4K, and both versions of the film as well. Which, if you like these films, these are really good packs. This one gets a massive long making of as well, telling you why things happen in the film. And you have the more dubious, but something I've always enjoyed and I've always had soft spot for, the Chronicles of Riddick in 4K. I couldn't resist, and look how nice it is.
Yeah, that was my father's favorite movies. I've seen it like 50 times.
All right. I haven't seen it that often. I look at it so often. I look at it every couple of years, really. I don't really watch it like all the time.
My father forced me to watch it all the time. So but I liked it as a kid, but haven't seen it in a decade.
It's very flawed. It's very, very flawed. But I have a soft spot for that, for the Riddick films.
And it's better than Pitch Black, I think. Yeah.
I like Pitch Black a bit more, but I like all the films; they're all fun, but they're B movies.
Yeah, I've got a real soft spot for the third one, apart from one scene that really annoys me.
Yeah, it's a fun movie as well. Just generally, they're all they're the B movies. That's it. Don't take them too seriously, and you're going to have fun.
Yeah, I got the 4K Trick or Treat as well for some reason. I'd never seen it, but obviously I'd heard good things about it, and it was really good. Really
Yeah,
enjoyable.
one it's a nice little anthology film. That's it. No pretensions. It's an anthology film. It's out in 80 minutes, and that's it. In and out in 80 minutes.
Yeah, I didn't actually realise Brian Cox was in it.
Yeah, partly I was reading his book last week, and he's basically saying like he doesn't like watching horror films, but he loves acting in them. Like he can go to the top and do these interesting things.
Yeah.
He just doesn't like watching horror films, but give him a horror part and he will do it. But yeah. So.
Your Majesty.
Yep.
Yeah, well, I kind of quickly mentioned this director already when I talked about the failed licenses from Radiance. So it's a film called Three Crowns of the Sailor from a Chilean director, Raul Ruiz, who also directed City of Pirates that I mentioned. And he's kind of an experimental filmmaker that, again, not many people know of, but I think he's a true master based on the few films that I have seen. He made like 100 films, and I've only seen like 3 or 4, so I haven't seen that many, but he's kind of like Buñuel, that he makes these kind of weird experimental films. Although I think Ruiz doesn't really talk about class in his films like Buñuel did, but his films are more kind of incomprehensible, and they go for kind of maximalist, beautiful experimental visuals, and that's what's great about them. Like, this film doesn't really have any concrete plot to it, but it's just like art gallery level shots like through the whole runtime, and I just absolutely loved it. And yeah, I would highly recommend this director if you can get hold of his films. Again, they can be very hard to find. Sometimes they are on YouTube, but I think most of them aren't on physical media, at least in the Anglo market. But I think he, kind of like Buñuel, he worked on many different countries, and he also worked in Europe. So I think maybe in the French Blu-ray market there might be some of his films available, but I don't know if they have subtitles.
Yeah, I think I've got 3 or 4 of these films in the backlog. Thanks to you.
Yeah. It's that thing is like I can't remember what I've got in my backlog anymore. So some I know I've got, another one just like, oh, I've got this film. All right. It's, you know, when it gets that bad, we like, oh, I've got this film.
Following on from Radiance, if Mr. Simeone happens to be watching, here's some of my suggestions for Radiance. I mean, obviously, we all love Kobayashi, and obviously some of his films are well known and on excellent physical media releases, but a lot of his melodramas aren't. And one of his, not melodrama, but absolutely brilliant film, Inn of Evil, could really do with a Blu-ray release. It's Nakadai. I went Nakadai crazy this year. There's a couple of filmmakers that I saw more of that have just rocketed up the board. Shinoda, Shindo, Okamoto. So, I mean, Fort Graveyard by Okamoto with Mifune and Nakadai is sensational. Again, could somebody release that in Blu-ray? But really, Masamura and Gosha. I mean, Gosha, again, with Radiance, Suzuki, Fukasaku, Taiketo, all those films are really good. But for me, and again, it's personal, none of them are Masamura and Gosha level. And it's great to see more of those films, don't get me wrong. But I mean, you have Gaioken by Gosha, which is brilliant. Bandit versus Samurai Squad by Gosha, which is unbelievably good. Cash Calls Hell by Gosha, which has just got a Vinegar Syndrome, not a Vinegar Syndrome, but one of their partner labels, which I've ordered, is brilliant. Again, Nakadai. Death Shadows is fantastic. Hichokiri is fantastic. So Hunter in the Dark is fantastic. So yes, we know Japan is just, it's almost overwhelming when you just find these directors and you just realize, oh my God, that's great, this is great, that's great. And then Masamura, who has, Arrow releases with Red Angel and Blind Beast, and I think Nazrin was the first one to kind of shout out Blind Beast. But obviously,
someone told me, though I can't remember who it was.
Yeah. But Masamura's also got Manji, and I really discovered Iyako Wakao, which I'm probably mispronouncing her name. But she did 20 odd films with Masamura, and she's absolutely fantastic. Two of the best films that I saw this year. They might be the two best films of this year. I mean, Masamura has a record, I think, for the number of films with wife in the title. But two of them was Sasaku's Wife, which is absolutely sensational, about the wife of a soldier. Highly recommend that. And again, if anybody's listening who runs a Blu-ray label that we all love, could we please get these films? And The Wife of Sheisu Hanoka, which is it's a kind of biographical film about the Japanese doctor who may have invented anesthetic. Again with Ayako Wakao and Hideo Takamine, absolutely brilliant as well. He's also got Two Wives, which is wonderful. A Wife Confesses, which I still haven't seen, and about 10 other films with the word wife in the title. But I mean, Masamura and Gosha, Okamoto, Shindo, Shinoda, Yoshida. I mean, there's just so many. I finally saw some Teshigahara films this year, and they're brilliant as well. So there's just an endless list. You could literally start a boutique label and just release Japanese films, and that would keep me going for several years. Just there are other wonderful Japanese films that need more exposure, as we know.
All right. Okay. I'll go with just one now. It's a difference. Something I was waiting for you to mention. I was thinking, you'll probably mention this pretty quick, and you never have. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to just mention now. Once Upon a Time in the West came to 4K.
Yes.
I got the I think it's a French version because it was cheaper, and I like having French writing on my covers. I think they look more fun than the British versions, English versions. This is gorgeous looking. There's not much difference in the extras you'd get from the earlier versions, but you get a remastered version. Just buy it. I bought this on digital as well, just so that I have a digital backup, just to have both the digital and the Blu-ray version, the Blu-ray and the 4K version. I've actually got two different versions on digital as well. I may be obsessed with this film. I may have gone way too far. So, yeah, just go buy it. If you're a Sergio Leone fan, just go buy it. It's wonderful. I don't think you need to say anything about it. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of the best cinema going experiences I ever had was when I saw that in BFI South Banks.
Yes. I'm actually giving my nephew an old copy of it, which is, why not? Hopefully I'll get him addicted to it as well.
Yeah. So good.
Yeah. So I'll go over to The Princess again.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to mention a modern film from last year, so that's
whoa.
Different.
Sit down.
I already mentioned one, so now I'm going to mention another one. But it's Japanese film, obviously, so it's called Blue Chai, and it's an anime film about these kind of young men who start a jazz band, and then they have dreams of becoming like the best jazz musicians in the world or in Japan, and it's such a beautiful movie about like dreams that young people have, but also about some darker things, like how you have these friends when you're young and you are really close, but then you see like later on that you start drifting apart and your interests are different and your goals are different, and you really like being with each other, but then you realize that we have to go different paths. And yeah, that's something that probably many of us can relate to, and there's lots of interesting themes like that about human connection in this film, and also the animation is really beautiful. Again, the name of the film is Blue Giant, and the film is really blue. It uses the color blue really nicely, and the music scenes are great. The score is really good, and yeah, this was something that I just absolutely loved watching, and I'm gonna watch it many times in the future, and hopefully maybe get it on Blu-ray. Yeah.
What's the title again? I tend to listen to your stuff then if I get the title.
Blue Giant.
All right, thanks. Yeah. Okay, then, running.
Yep. I just ran away to get a prop.
All right.
It was just to talk about a director that the Princess has mentioned before, and that's Chang Dong Lee. This is surprisingly the Umbrella box set. I was quite surprised when Umbrella announced it. Umbrella do some great work that goes kind of unnoticed. So this has Poetry, Oasis, and Peppermint Candy. And then one of the Vinegar Syndrome partner labels released a 4-film with his first one is Green Fish. Is that right? Yeah, these are wonderful, challenging films. I also get Secret Sunshine on Criterion. He does love putting his protagonist through the ringer and showing how wonderful and happy life is.
Yes.
My personal favourite's Poetry. That's the one I kind of connected with the most. Yeah, great films and a great director as well. It's a shame he didn't do more, but then he was a writer for a large part of his life as well. But I would highly recommend that box set, and there's also, as I said, an American one as well.
And if people want to learn more about his film Oasis, you can go to my channel and see a 75-minute long, very analytical discussion on that. Yeah, it's a pretty challenging film and quite problematic in many ways, but it definitely makes you think both about the film itself and the filmmaking, but also many real-life issues.
Yeah, his films aren't going to be remade by Hollywood anytime soon, I wouldn't have thought.
Yeah, and not to be confused with Oasis, the video nasty, which is apparently really boring. I just started bringing it up since there is a title called Oasis. It's actually terrible. It's unwatchable. Even if people love video nasties, hate it.
That's good.
Yes. Yeah. Do not confuse it with the other one.
No. Shout out to Umbrella.
I'm going Godzilla now. We knew it was going to happen eventually. Godzilla -1, which actually has. You actually get the Godzilla -1 in 4K and in Blu-ray, and you get the minus color one, and some nice extras as well. It's a very nice transfer, great sound, just wonderful. I highly recommend it if you like the film. If you're a Godzilla fan like me, it's a no-brainer. This was one of my spending stupid money in something things where I can't justify it, but I bought it anyway. But just in case you think I'm being too classy, I also got a steelbook of Godzilla vs. Godzilla Kong New Empire, which is a very nice steelbook. Yes. And this is the kind of show you a stupid Godzilla film or Kong film that is still a lot of fun if you're in the mood for it. I had a blast with it. But and since I'm doing the steelbooks from like this year, I'm also going to point out Furiosa, which is the Mad Max film without Mad Max. This is the beautiful steelbook. I couldn't resist steelbook. There's also a black and white version of that, which we all know that I'm going to be stupid enough to buy at some point.
Yes,
we shouldn't expect anything, you know. And if there's a steelbook somewhere, I will find it. You know. So yes. There's not much more I can say about these. I've already covered them quite a lot on my channel, so there's like, just, you know, it's hard to talk what you just talked about, so I'm just gonna go. look at these fun films.
I think people are familiar with the concept of Godzilla. They should be by now.
I know, yeah, it's hard to say much for Godzilla. These are good films. This is the serious one. This is the stupid one. You know, this one will actually rot your brain. The Godzilla Kong one will rot your brain. It really is stupid, but it's a lot of fun. And Furiosa is an epic, almost 3 hours. So if you're looking for an epic post-apocalyptic movie, it looks gorgeous. You got that too. So over to the princess.
Yeah, I'm actually gonna mention yet another modern film somehow, but
Whoa.
it's Perfect Days by Wim Wenders that was also released by Criterion. So
Which I'm watching tonight, by the way. I've not seen it. I'm going to watch tonight.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. So I absolutely love this film. It's like the type of film that I've grown to love as I've grown older. So it's a film about kind of everyday life, and absolutely nothing happens in it, but somehow it tells you so much about the human condition at the same time. So it's about an old guy who just cleans toilets in Tokyo and listens to 70s American music and reads books, and that's the plot basically. Although I started kind of rethinking this film after I had watched it and read one review that was kind of critical how it presents class, because it kind of glorifies that type of working class life and doesn't take into account how people like this are very much exploited, especially in Japan with those crazy working hours. You get awful salary, you work all day long, but this guy is happy, and I think most people aren't happy when they are exploited like that. So it kind of has a problematic view on class, but I think I still love the film, even though that review made me kind of rethink it and made me think that, yeah, maybe it's kind of problematic in a way, especially if you are a leftist and not a right-wing nutjob. But yeah, it's still a great film, and it shows that Wim Wenders still has it, even though I think he's almost like 80 years old or something.
Yeah, I think I'll pick up in Mubi because it's out in Mubi as well, 4K and Blu-ray. So.
Yeah, no, yeah, it's one of those ones I was going to watch before the end of the year, so I've seen it. I've got it on streaming, so I'm going to watch it. But yeah, I think it doesn't matter though, because some people don't have great jobs, but they enjoy what they're doing, and other people have great jobs and they hate every second of it. I think it depends on your mindset. And I think you have to be defined by what you should be thinking of your job. You know, I don't know. I mean, there's lots of people who have jobs that they love, even though it's not like financially amazing, and they might be getting exploited by other people, but they still like what they're doing. You know.
Yeah, and to be fair, there is like a bit of a darker edge to the film as well, where we kind of start to question whether he's actually happy or not. But
yeah. Yeah, I started getting more suspicious of certain reviewers over time when I started to think you've got an agenda that's simplistic a lot of the time, and it's like, oh, look at this way I see it, and you see it's very flawed, and it's like, no, it's just that's your agenda. I find I get very bored with that nowadays. It's like a lot of time people just try and take things down just because they're trying to look smart.
People agenda nowadays? It's really not.
Yeah, I know. It's amazing, isn't it?
What's this called? Well, I'll go even crazier and talk about a film from 2024.
Wow.
Lanthimos' Kinds of Kindness, which for me was a pleasant return to form, even though that's a really hackneyed expression. But a nice little 3 stories with the same actors playing different characters. It's just back to more kind of Lanthimosian stuff. Poor Things, I think, is a little bit of an outlier, even though I did enjoy it. But you could argue Poor Things is his worst film.
I really liked it. So.
No, I liked it as well, but that's his bar is quite high for me.
The purist in you was disgusting.
Yeah. But whereas this is back to him taking a reign of the writing, which he hasn't kind of done in the last couple. Yeah, it's not perfect, but I still enjoyed it, and as I said, I think it's back to being a little bit more Lanthimosian.
Yep. Yeah, it's like talking about Godzilla movies. You've talked about this guy so often. It's like, well, yeah. Well, I've got. I'm now going back to 1971
Nice.
with the Stone Tape, which is a very nice set from 101 films. It's been remastered and looks very good. You get new extras about the film and lots of people talking about it. And the film itself is wonderful. It's a BBC production. Because I'd seen this before, but I hadn't seen it for a while. But I also saw Ghostwatch this year, which is also a one which I hadn't seen before, which is a really fun take off in this. But this is still, I think, the better one. Because it's just creepy. It's the idea of ghosts and what they can be and how does it affect people and what. It sets up a ghost story, but then the reality of the situation is much more complicated and interesting, and it takes a look at like gender politics in the 70s and how people are exploited by others through like work environment, through who's the money and who gets the money after things pay off. There's lots of stuff like that, how roughly people treat each other and how certain people who are in charge and can be extremely exploitative and extremely nasty about their supposed loved ones to get what they want. So there's a lot of character work within the ghost story idea, and the ghost story idea is not exactly a ghost story idea. Nigel Neal wrote it, and so if you know Quatermass, it's never quite the simple solution that you expect from these kind of stories. So it is a wonderful release, and if you like a ghost story, I would highly recommend it. And the box set from 101s is very nice.
Yeah, it's a really interesting concept for people that kind of believe that locations can have information about the past within them. And as far as 101, I'd also shout out the 4K of Ensondie, and then on the other end of the spectrum, the 4K of Sword and the Sorcerer, which is complete nonsense, but that got a nice 4K 101 as well.
Yep, I haven't got either of those. I just went for the Stone Tape.
I have the Stone Tape as well.
Yeah, I know because you sent me a photo of your Stone Tape. Because you got it first, you bugger. And he sent me, he knows I'm a massive Nigel Neal fan, he sent me a photo of it straight away just so I know that I had to wait.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, you feel guilty?
Not really, no.
No, all right. It's worth a try.
Mr. Reindeer.
Yep.
Yeah, so one of my highlights of the year was watching many Kiyoshi Kurosawa films, and he's kind of about to become one of my favorite directors. So my favorite from him that I watched this year was Charisma, which isn't talked about that much, and it's not available on physical media, but it's a very kind of incomprehensible film that doesn't give you any answers, and you can analyze it in so many different ways. Maybe it's kind of a environmentalist commentary, or maybe it's more kind of psychoanalytical, or maybe it's about kind of the awfulness of human beings. But it's a very great movie, like such beautiful cinematography and great performance from Koji Yakusho. Then probably the second favorite from him that I watched was Pulse, which is available in Arrow.
Yeah,
like that's a great horror film, and it kind of, even though it's from I think 2001, but I feel like it predicted internet in many ways, how alienated we have become with the internet. And I think they even say in the film that we were supposed to be more connected with the internet, but actually we are more alone and more alienated. So it kind of predicted that came with social media and stuff. And then he made a film called Retribution in the mid-2000s, which is one of his thrillers, also a kind of a ghost movie, and such a great one as well. And then I watched some of his more later stuff, which is a bit more kind of mainstream and simple and less aesthetically pleasing, but still cute. Like I watched Before We Vanish, which is also available on Blu-ray. That was pretty cute, but again, not as great as his best stuff that came out in the kind of from mid-90s to mid-2000s. I would say Then I think I watched one more called License to Live, which was pretty good, but again, not great. And now I really need to rewatch Cure, which is his most famous film. I think I'm gonna like it even more now that I've become a huge Kurosawa fan. And then Tokyo Sonata, I watched a long time ago and really loved, so that one I also need to watch again. But he's really amazing director. And while I'm not that into thrillers these days, I used to be more when I was younger, but Kiyoshi Kurosawa is kind of reminding me that I can still enjoy a good thriller if it's just made in an interesting way.
Yeah, Eureka releasing the 4K Cure. I think my favourite still might be Doppelganger, which again
I haven't seen that one yet. So.
isn't readily available either. So.
Yeah, I've got quite a few of his, but I haven't watched some for a while. I have Before They Vanish, and the Pulse is really something. I need to watch more. Like I've got one of them in streaming, but I can't remember what the title was. It's a weird one. I think it was not what he shot in Japan. It was something he shot in another country. Hangunzen or something like that. Yeah, I need to watch more of his, really. Again, it's just like finding the time because you're trying to watch a lot of different things. So you just prioritize what you're interested in seeing.
Yeah, well, I can't do this video without mentioning Deaf Crocodile.
Of course you can.
Who I adore. They still won't pay me money, but never mind. So some of the releases I would highlight is World War III, which is a film from Iran. About a guy who's struggling. He's in love with a prostitute. He ends up working on a film about concentration camps. And
as you do.
As you do, and the actor who plays Hitler falls ill, so he ends up playing Hitler while trying to. It's honestly, it is a real film. It's kind of odd but brilliant. And then Moscow Slums, which is basically a Sherlock Holmes film without Sherlock Holmes. It's Stanislavski and an author playing those two characters, and it's just a lot of fun. Looks gorgeous. The Savage Hunt of King Stack, which is a Russian folk horror-ish film about a translator who goes to this abandoned castle where everybody's living under this curse of King Stack. Absolutely beautiful, hypnotic, amazing imagery, poetic imagery. Ruslan and Ludmilla, the longest Russian fantasy film, which is absolutely gorgeous and beautiful. Adela hasn't had her supper yet. Yep, it's one of those crazy Czech films, which is absolutely brilliant as well. And there's the odd animation thrown in. Bill Plimpton's The Tune finally getting a Blu-ray release. So Deaf Crocodile continue to do wonderful work. Unfortunately, they've stopped again sending direct to the UK, so you have to get it from Diabolic DVD. But they are pretty quick and well packaged stuff themselves. So I'd rather give them money directly to Deaf Crocodile, but unfortunately they've stopped shipping to the UK directly. But Deaf Crocodile continue to do wonderful work. Obviously you can pick them up on eBay as well, but they tend to be
it's tossed now.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm going for the classiest titles of all. Todd Slaughter collection, which is wonderful. I mean, it's released last year, not this year, but I finally went to this year. It's just wonderful collection of like old school exploitation films from the 40s. They're called Quota Quickies in the UK. And Slaughter was a great example of a guy who could play a really fun villain and he could just have a ball with it. And the films I've enjoyed to watch, to see him do the villains, plus you see a lot of actors who become big in cinema appear in these films early on as they just worked the craft before they got big, really. So some good names, some sort of float through this, big names float through this. But it's just the films themselves are fun. They're just enjoyable. Nice extras, lots of commentaries, give you an idea of the history of Slaughter and what it was about. And it's just a good time. I mean, I just highly recommend these. These are just really fun films.
Yeah, if you don't like one of them, don't worry. Wait an hour, and another one's coming. So
yeah, and even the kind of weaker ones has moments. You know.
And to be fair, their weaker moments are usually when he's not on screen.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. The worst film was Beck Sexton Blake because there's another lead character, and it's like, well, he's not in it enough. It's like that's other boring guys in it. Why? So yeah, that's pulpy trash but fun.
My turn again. Yeah. So I don't have that much.
I don't have.
Yeah. I've been smiling a lot. Yeah.
All right.
At least for the Finnish standards. But,
yeah.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah.
Smiling takes out of you.
I know. The muscles in your face, just like, it's too much.
But yeah, so I don't have that much to say about this film, but I really loved it. So it's called Mother and Son by Alexander Sokurov.
Oh, that's great. That's really good. I love Sokurov. Yeah. He's brilliant.
Yeah, I've now seen like 3 films from him. Sadly, his films aren't available in many places, even though he seems to be like such a great director based on the 3 that I have seen. And
what have you seen?
I've seen Russian Ark and then Mother and Son, and what was the third one? I can't remember the name. I mean, I can check it really quickly because I have it open here. Yeah, it's called Whispering Pages.
I haven't seen that one, but Moloch's amazing. Moloch with Hitler is amazing.
Yeah, but Mother and Son is very like simple story about a mother and a son, but the kind of main attraction here is just the absolutely gorgeous cinematography and the kind of just the sheer simple beauty of the story and the kind of love between this mother and son. And I think Sokurov was even like Tarkovsky's student in his early years, and you can see the influence there, but he also has his own style. I really hope that somebody would like release a box set or something of his films, because I mean they would look absolutely gorgeous on Blu-ray or 4K.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a massive Sokurov fan. His output slowed down quite a bit, so that's kind of the problem. Is he's no longer really making big films. He did a documentary a few years ago, Franco something. I've got it. I haven't watched it, but some of his stuff's amazing. I mean, really, a lot of the films he made that are hard to get hold of are really good. Because there's atmosphere to them that really work. Because he doesn't do obvious stuff. You have to kind of lead into the films and find the details of it. So Sokurov's wonderful. I'm glad you got into Sokurov because you got some really good films to see in the future.
Yeah, the Russian Ark I saw like a few years ago already. I think it was in the Sight and Sound list, so that's why I watched it back then. But this year I watched the other 2, and my friend Tony also recommended me his film Father and Son. So it's kind of like Father and Son, but with the father and son. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's I've got Faust, but I haven't watched it yet.
Yeah.
From him too. I've got a bunch of them. They're just great films. So
yeah, I'm not familiar.
Shameful.
Oh.
For shame.
What I've been doing with my time, I don't know.
No, really try and check him out. He's really good. He's extremely good director.
I have heard of Russian Ark. I've heard of Mother and Son.
That's the obvious one. But Moloch is amazing. Moloch is about Hitler, and it's stunning. Did
Russian Ark not win at Cannes or something? Or
nominate
at Cannes or something?
Yeah, Russian Ark is I would describe it for Sokurov fan. It's sort of like his Poor Things. It's like it's a bit more obvious than some of the other stuff that's better. You know,
Russian Ark is kind of like a visual experiment. It's one of those type of films, but it's really good, I think. Yeah.
It's really good, but another thing is, it's like we see his other films. It's like these ones are much better than that.
I'll just talk about some films that I probably should have seen by now, but it took me a while to get around to them. So Bitter Rice, the wonderful Italian film about seasonal workers and 2 female seasonal workers, is just absolutely brilliant. Z, or Z, Costa Gravis, I finally got around to seeing it and it's absolutely brilliant. State of Siege by Costa Gravis as well. It is bizarre that Z doesn't have a decent Blu-ray, and I think there's a Spanish Blu-ray. And Woman Ascends the Stairs, again with Nakadai, because I went Nakadai crazy, by Naruse. As I said, Tessa Gahara, Women of the Dunes. Yeah, just some classics that I finally caught up with, and I'm glad I did. Bitter Rice is absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, when you mentioned Peter Rice, reminded me of that. I forgot one Italian film from my list called The Organizer, which I know Ronin loves. I thought that was a masterpiece when I watched it earlier this year, and still very relevant. Like Ronin always says that again, those class politics are still very relevant, sadly, to this day, and maybe more relevant than ever now in the late stage capitalism hellhole that we live in.
Yeah, and it's a different kind of Mastriani, but he's brilliant in it.
Yeah, he's this kind of weird professor in it. Yeah, like so different from his like Fellini roles.
It's like a shaggy dog rather than matinee idol.
Yeah, and at times it's more like a light-hearted film, but then towards the end it has this kind of brutal scene when people are getting shot and stuff.
Yeah. Subjects it mentions now, basically. I've not watched any of these yet, but this collection, Full-On Day collection, Vladi collection.
Watched Phantomas.
Yeah.
The print is beautiful.
Yeah. Basically, I've just got it through very recently. I haven't had a chance to watch it, but I'm looking forward to them all because I've wanted to see them for years. But I've also got a bunch of them films that come out. I'm looking forward to is a Keep 4K, which is I bought and I told Ronan about it as well, and he caved in not long after.
Yep.
I feel no guilt at all.
Oh, you're done now.
Yeah.
It was like,
Yeah. I got that along with Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 4K from there because it was a sale on, so you're really paying a lot for the postage, so you might as well get the other one. There's the Abyss 4K, which came out this year, which I was always a big fan of the Abyss, so it's quite nice to see it properly remastered and out and get some nice extras with it. There's War and Peace, which I watched this year, which I did a video on that Ronan recommended to me, so I finally got into watching that. It's great. Once you're into the style of it, it's amazing. You just have to have a bit of patience to figure it out. It was nice to see Pink Flamingos on Criterion. It's been released for a couple of years, but I finally got into buying it and watching it, and it was a lot of fun. If you like John Waters, that is. So Count Dracula in 4K, the Christopher Lee one, the supposedly more faithful to the novel, but it's actually just a very strange film. So it's enjoyable for how weird it is. Gretel and Hansel, which is a nice little Oz Perkins film. I got in 4K from Germany. It was nice to get to see Crimes of the Future from Second Sight in 4K. That was nice to. It was Horrors of the Black Museum, which is a Michael Gough film from the 50s, where he's a sicko crime writer killing people. If you want 50s horror, British horror trash, you can do no better than that. The Zone Troopers is a fun little B movie. Yep, it's. You got the Michael Reeves stuff, you Revenge of the Blood Beast, Witch Trainer General 4K, and Sorcerer's Remaster, which are all terrific. And I finally get around to watching Der Zala, which I got a nice Blu-ray, so it was very good to see. So that's kind of all my kind of highlights, really. But none of those I could really talk about in detail. I think they're just like, I've done videos on them. It's like, they're enjoyable. They're really, they were really fun.
Do you have any more, Princess?
Yeah, I think I have one or two more, so I'll check.
On you go then.
Yeah, I have three more.
Okay.
Well, the first one is by Mikio Naruse, who Ronin already mentioned. It's called Sound of the Mountain from the 1950s, starring some Ozu regulars. And I always say that Mikio Naruse is kind of like the missing link between Ozu and Mizoguchi, because he kind of mixes their styles in a way, although he again started around the same time, so he has his own style, so maybe he shouldn't be compared too much to the others. But anyway, it's a kind of a dark family drama. It kind of shows this kind of conflict between people who are really kind and people who are really awful, because there's this young couple in this house, and then there are the guy's parents, but the young man is an awful person and he treats his wife awfully, but then the young woman really connects with, again, her husband's father, and he shows her kindness. So it's kind of a, again, really good exploration of those very essential themes about human condition, and it's a really beautiful looking movie with great performances, with a great ending. And I really love Mikio Naruse's films. And kind of like with Kiyoshi Kurosawa, he's kind of about to become like one of my favorite filmmakers, but I still need to see maybe a couple more films from him and maybe rewatch some others. Should I mention the other ones on my list as well? So
Yeah, you might as well.
Yeah.
Well, oh yeah, so then another Japanese film, of course. So it's called Happy Hour from Ruisuke Hamaguchi, who's one of my favorite directors working today. So it's a 5-hour movie about these women in their 30s and their kind of daily life and their relationships. And it's very, very, very slow. There are very like long shots and long scenes where not much happens. People just sit around, walk around and talk. But again, like I've said, I love that type of cinema. And then lastly, this is maybe more of a honorable mention, as I'm not quite sure whether these films are kind of like a new favorites or not, but they're at least close. So I watched many films from the kind of famous Turkish director Nuri Bilge Ceylan. Actually watched one of them yesterday called Winter Sleep, which won even the Palme d'Or back in 2014. And then another highlight from him was The Wild Pear Tree. And he's another, again, director, a slow cinema director. He was influenced by Tarkovsky, Bergman, and Romet, for example. And he makes these 3-hour long films, very existentialist films about people who try to find meaning in their lives. And we see them navigate through their relationships and we see their kind of inner struggles and things like that. And his films are so beautiful. They are shot in these often like rural areas in Turkey, and he gets these really nice shots in the snow often, and lots of these kind of just beautiful nature shots in Anatolia and stuff. So I really like the cinematography in his films, but also the subject matter, and I think he's one of the very rare kind of filmmaking masters working today. And there is a box set of his films that has all of his films except his new film that came out last year.
Yeah, I've got that box set. It's that thing as I keep looking at it guiltily and go, I need to start watching these. Yeah. You know, it's box sets that make you feel really guilty sometimes because you're like, I feel like it should have started in this. Really. Yeah. I think we've all got a few like that. You're like, I have no excuse. I should have started by now.
Yeah, my problem is like in the Bergman sets and in the Fassbinder sets, like all the kind of lesser known films that nobody really likes. Like I'm really lazy watching those. I've watched all the kind of famous acclaimed ones, but not the kind of random 3-star ones. So,
yeah, because I mean, when we were doing the Bergman stuff, we were like, we would make sure we'd watch some of the early ones just that were a bit different, just to try something. So it wasn't just the famous ones that we forced ourselves. And there was a lot of good stuff in there. Sometimes you could see he was learning, but it's still a lot of good films, even when the director's not quite there yet.
Yeah, I watched a couple of his 40s films, and yeah, they were like okay, not bad, but compared to his best stuff, yeah, they are.
Yeah. I mean, it's like when you're starting off, you're going to make mistakes, and you're still working out by making the mistakes. Don't do that again. But you can still see like the origins of someone who's going to get good, really. So that's why it's more interesting than anything.
Yeah, it's always interesting to see the arc. I mean, obviously some directors start off with a bang, and then other directors are kind of finding their way until they.
Yeah. I mean, some directors start with a bang and that's it. It's like 2 or 3 films, that's you're done.
Yeah, I did a video recently of 2 of these films from 1949, which were really good.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
so I'm just gonna shout out a few labels again. Just if we haven't talked about it doesn't mean we don't like you anymore. Obviously,
it does.
Second Sight, Eureka, still doing great work. Eureka released a little film I'd never heard of, which isn't that much of a surprise. Black Tuesday with Edward G. Robinson, which is just a wonderful little black noir with no redeeming qualities whatsoever, which was absolutely excellent. BFI released an early Michael Powell set, which which is wonderful. The prints are as good as you could possibly expect, considering how old they are. And of course, there's nothing jaw-dropping in it, but they're all just quite wonderful. And personally, I finally finished the BFI Alan Clark set, which again is one of those things. Why didn't I watch them earlier? I now have the theory that perhaps Alan Clark might be the second greatest British director of all time. Eat that, Hitchcock.
I still haven't watched them all yet, but it's like because I'm doing them slowly in the series, I'm just trying to enjoy them. It's like I'll watch a bunch and I'll do the videos. I'll stop a bit and watch a bit more. Try to spread it out as much as I can.
Yeah. But amazing. And now I actually feel quite emotional when I think about it because he died way too young. And it would have just been fascinating to see what he would have did.
So basically, if you do a Kieslowski Alan Clark video, you're going to be in tears the whole time.
Yeah, it's just sad, as we know, when people with talent die and people without talent seem to live forever.
Yep, it's does seem pretty annoying.
We never got the Paul Lenny, Conrad Veidt Dracula.
Yes.
Yeah, so just another great year. I know people have views on physical media going away, but I mean, another great year for releases. Obviously, there's always more that could be released, but that's out of our hands. But I think we are spoiled, really.
I mean, that's the thing is, I think we've all been up front in the videos. Like, none of us have had a great year, personally. We've all kind of had a struggling year, But we actually talk about what you've watched, what you've liked. You realise I've actually watched a lot of stuff that's really reached me and it's really helped me and all that thing. But so I mean, it's like I think having this does help even when you're maybe not having the best of times in real life.
I mean, I know people poo-hoo it or whatever, but sometimes having a really nice bit of cardboard in your hand helps a lot.
Yeah. And just watching stuff. I mean, this year I had a great time watching the Malick films again. Just really helped me through a bad time. Just to kind of how soulful they were and how much they had in them. And it's just things that really do help. They really get you through it, really, when you're kind of struggling.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, Rowan finally watched Kamikaze Girls, and that's the best therapy. That one.
I should have mentioned that because that was actually the beginning of this year. I thought it was earlier than that, but I mean that will put a smile on your face. If that doesn't put a smile on your face, there's something wrong. Kamikaze Girls.
I haven't watched it yet.
Yeah, you need to watch that tonight.
I'm watching Perfect Days tonight.
That's an amazing double bill. It's a double bill.
Yeah.
Now I've already got another film planned. I'm trying to go through the films that I've not watched yet this year that I really want to watch. So I will get to. Don't worry.
Yeah, Kamikaze Girls it's almost spiritual.
All right.
The experience you'll get.
Okay.
Yeah, I just want to live inside that film. So
And then you find out you're really living inside the film nostalgia, but all the depressing bits.
Yes. I did get nostalgia in 4K this year.
So did I. It's wonderful to look at, but
because again, nobody talks about Kino Lorber, but they do good work as well.
oh yeah, I mean they did Paths of Glory. That was last year, but there's a lot of stuff coming out. Again, there's so much out. You can't afford to buy everything. It's just like there's no way you can afford it. It's like you just have to buy stuff you want and then hope the other stuff doesn't sell out for when you can afford to buy it.
Yeah, in some ways, I'm kind of glad that Kino doesn't ship to the UK because I would do serious damage during their sales.
Oh yeah, I mean, I got that feeling just doing the Vinegar Syndrome things with the Keep. I was like, now that's thing. The Keep has been one of my favorite weirdo films since like the 90s. So having a 4K version of that is like the holy grail. There's no way I could not do it. I had to go and start an account with and everything to actually. I had to go that extreme. But there's no way I could justify buying the actual limited edition because that was way too expensive for me. It was like, no.
Yeah, I did.
yeah, I know you did. But even I was like, well,
that's got the full 3-hour cut on it though.
Yeah, sure. Well, I think it's also things I managed to get Texas Chainsaw 2 at the same time. But
yeah, you're all right with that.
Yeah. So I'm okay not having a bit of cardboard and getting just have to film.
But if you stare at the bit of cardboard long enough, you see the 3-hour cut.
I don't think you do. But yeah, as you've seen enough of my box sets already, I've already spent enough on box sets. I mean, this was announced just after I'd got the short scope through and all of those serial stuff through. So I was like, I can't justify it to myself. There's no way I can justify the limited edition of Keep. There has to be some limits on you. You know.
I would also say Canny and Canadian International Pictures, another Vinegar Syndrome partner label, continued doing interesting and wonderful work.
Did anyone see there was an interview with Tracy Letts who was talking about the Blu-ray collections and stuff. It was really good. I'll put it down below in the link because it's really a good interview because he was talking about his collecting style and things for like an hour and a half and talking about the best stuff. And that label was named, Radiance was named, and it's like pretty much this group of people who are talking to are all kind of collectors in the same insane way we are. We spend way too much money and way too much time in this stuff. I'll put a link to it down below, because it's worth a watch. You know, it's
good stuff.
Yeah. Does anyone else to say? Anything amazing to say?
No.
No.
Not really.
So see,
amazing to see. So
yeah, so see, 2024 may have seemed like it was apocalypse, but there were good things in it. If you find things you love, you know. Look, even the Finnish person smelled a little bit in this podcast. So I mean, like, there is hope. You know.
Well, as Charles Bukowski said, find the thing that you love and let it kill you.
Yes. Yeah, but. I mean, because we are leading to our deaths with this stuff. I mean, someone's going to look at this stuff and be dying and go, what the hell did I do with all this stuff? That's why you have relatives who are movie fans. They'll just say, I'll take it.
Yeah, just forget about Elon Musk and Donald Trump and just focus on films.
Yeah, yes.
Yes.
Best over Christmas, just enjoy watching your depressing films. You know, you don't need to watch Red One. Please do not watch Red One. Please. If you want to save sanity. Don't make my mistake. So I hope you enjoyed this.
On that bombshell.
Yes. Thank you, Princess, for coming.
Antlers up.
Yep. And
Have a good festive period.
Yep. Enjoy yourself, and we'll see you next year with our weirdness intact. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.